Okay, hi, my name is Kirsten Lovett, and we're live here. And what I want to do, before I actually go ahead and officially introduce myself and tell you about various things, I want to show you an example of two things: an animal spirit archetype, well, an animal spirit. Oh, I see a person. Yay. That means we must be live. Okay, you can see me. Yay! Now, oh, I see Christina. Oh, great. Thank you, thank you all for being so patient, and thank you, everybody. Um, Before I actually officially go through and introduce myself and go through the whole introduction part, I want to start us off with an animal spirit and a plant spirit. So first, what I'm going to do while people are kind of coming in is I'm going to whistle my jaguar song into my palms. So that's what you're going to be hearing. Okay, now while I'm rubbing my hands here, get some energy in them, I'm going to pick up my rattle. And what I'm going to do is, hello, hello everybody. What I'm going to do is I'm going to thank the plant spirits that made this rattle. And then I'm going to thank the animal spirits that gave up their lives for this rattle. And then I'm going to thank the rattle spirit itself and any other medicine beings. So that's what I'm going to be thinking while I actually blow on this. Thank you, plant spirits, giving up your lives for this rattle. Thank you, animal spirits, for giving up your lives for this rattle. Thank you, rattle spirits and medicine beings. And then we're going to rattle. And we're going to come back to the rattle later on, because what I'd like to do is have us all go on a shamanic journey after I get done talking. So we'll come back to the rattle here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of juniper here, and I'm going to try to make sure you guys can see it. So I'm going to light this and see if you can see. Juniper is a wonderful, there you can see a little bit of a smoke, and that's the juniper plant spirit. That helps to cleanse the space, of course, among other things. Okay, so I just wanted to thank Christina for inviting me for this wonderful summit. I've enjoyed everyone's talk so far, and I can't wait to see the rest of them. Thank you for welcoming everybody and at this wonderful Summer of Magic. And so my name is Kirsten Lovett. I'm a shamanic coach, and the co-creator, along with Marissa Lovett, at the Patreon, which is called Shamanic Earth Medicine. And what we do there is we teach what we call animistic principles, or animism. And just in case maybe that's not a word that, comes up all the time for you, animism, at least my definition of it, is the belief that everything has a soul or spirit, which is a pretty common definition. So we talk about that, as well as, and we do actual videos at the Patreon. I talk quite a bit about sacred tobacco and the relationship with sacred tobacco. Marissa covers shamanic journeying as well, and we do other topics too. So I got started in animism about back in 2007, and have been helping people with shamanic guidance about things like sacred tobacco and animistic relationships for about 5 years now. For a couple years, back in 2017 to 2019, I also co-moderated a free Facebook group, which some of you guys might remember, called Animistic Earth Medicine. But what I did, and I'll talk more about this later at the end of the talk, I created the course, Getting to Know Your Plant Spirit Family, because I knew people really needed help with connecting with the plant spirit world in everyday life, in everyday modern life. Most people in modern society, myself included, didn't grow up with an animistic or shamanistic or traditional worldview or in that kind of culture. So they don't really have, including me, don't have a built-in understanding of how non-human beings can be ancestors in our lives. So what I do is I help people identify their unique shamanic gifts. And one of the ways we do this is by cultivating a relationship out in nature. Of course, I always talk about sacred tobacco, but there's other kinds of relationships you can build out in nature. And some other areas I've offered help with is exploring kind of different experiences with sacred sites. And of course, offerings comes up quite a bit in when we talk about animism. What, different kinds of offerings when you're trying to build that relationship. But today, I'm going to talk to you about, we're going to discover, are you an animal or a plant spirit archetype? And before I actually jump into the 3 different things, I just wanted to relay what a friend and I were talking about, and he suggested this was a really good idea. You guys remember that game you used to play back maybe when you were kids, where someone was thinking of a certain object or a certain being, and everybody else had to guess what it was. And one of the ways you would narrow it down is you would say, are you an animal? Are you a vegetable? Are you a mineral? And I'm sure some of you guys remember playing a game like that. This is sort of like that, if you can kind of keep that in the back of your mind, basically. But I'm going to talk about, first off, animal spirit archetype characteristics. Then I'm going to talk about plant spirit archetype characteristics. And then throughout I'll just talk about various experiences that I've had in these areas that, hopefully will demonstrate a little bit there. You still play that game with my son? Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, it's such a fun game. It's so like timeless. It brings back a lot of good memories. Plus, it's good for exercising the brain too, right? So, so animal spirit archetype characteristics. I've noticed when some people are interested in things like shamanism or animism, their first instinct is to seek out a power animal. Let's pretend that we're all skeptical of this idea for 2 seconds, but some skeptics would call this, oh, that's anthropomorphic. You're just, projecting that. Okay, let's say that's on the surface, maybe that's what's happening. But the more we look at the importance of animals and animal spirits as the main symbol of the medicine woman or medicine man's or shaman or healer, but it's their entry, their guide, their protector when they're in the other world, especially if you're journeying or doing any kind of healing work. So then all of a sudden that skepticism of everything being anthropomorphized I think it kind of fades away. So it's perfectly natural and expected to seek out a power animal, I think. Also, our ancient ancestors had helping spirits and regularly communicated with them both in their own personal lives and also on a collective level, like in a community. There was reverence for the helping spirits, which frequently was an animal. When we modern people view archaeological finds from thousands and thousands of years ago, for example, at deer antlers. Some of you guys might have been at the 12 Days of Christmas that Christina hosted December of 2020. And I talked about Ellen, getting to know the ways of Ellen of the Ways, which is a deer spirit as well. And so we know that she was a very, very, and still is a very important animal spirit. So when we modern people view archaeological finds of, let's say, deer antlers from tens of thousands of years ago, we're witnessing firsthand evidence of an ancient ancestral communities, the entire community, and perhaps even the entire region, or as far out as that extends. But their reverence, that you can actually physically see it in the antlers, whether it was a totem or a clan or a spirit that represented a tribe. So let's get back to modern day, 2021, 2020. Because of the pandemic, the astral plane, I'm sure some of you guys who do healing work, or you're sensitive, or you're an empath, or you're psychic, I'm sure you've noticed since the pandemic started that the astral plane, or even the physical plane, has become a lot more, shall we say, cluttered. um, a better word might be problematic. So ever since then, I've noticed personally, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have probably noticed this too, maybe you've had to confront some old fears or revisit some old patterns that have come up. And for some reason, for me, that led me straight to animal spirits. Um, I've had to increase the amount of time that I might pray or merge with an animal spirit if I'm doing a um, certain kind of ritual work or healing work. I might be a little more conscious of increasing my merging with an animal spirit. So when I was thinking about this, when I was writing this up, I was thinking, okay, what does this make me think of back in our ancient ancestors when they were alive? And this made me think of their relationship, their ancient relationship that they must have had with their animals, and they're not just their physical animals, but their animal spirits. And we know that long ago that most ancient peoples worldwide had some kind of affinity with various animals on both, like I said, like the physical plane, which would be your physical animals that were in the tribe, and the spiritual plane, which is something that, is still relatively new to talk about. New as in maybe in the last 100 years or something like that. So many shamanistic cultures, as you guys, might have read about or seen, they have their medicine people merge with animal spirits for various reasons. It could be for teaching, could be for protection, it could be for guidance or healing. But you can see this all across the globe. Um, just look at you can go on YouTube and find it. And I mean a reputable source, of course. So again, I want to reiterate the response that most people have who are kind of new to exploring this idea of shamanism or animism, where they kind of gravitate towards a power animal first, as an impulse. I think it's totally, totally founded and totally normal. And it helps with a lot of things, confronting fear, like I mentioned, my own fears, negative energy, or any kinds of protection that you need when you're going into the other world. And lastly, power animal spirits can help us trust, which is something, you know, some people need more help with that than others. I certainly have received a lot of help in that area from power animals. So what are the four, I've got just basically 4 or 5 characteristics for animal spirit archetype people. And I'll tell you about the quiz later, but basically you don't have to have all of these qualities. You just have to have one. And that'll be true when I talk about the plant spirit archetype too. So animal spirit archetype qualities, one of them is you might be drawn to animals as kin or family. That's one of them. You may have a memory, subconscious or conscious, of an animal totem or an emblem for the family. And that kind of ties into people who like maybe are investigating their genealogy, or perhaps they don't know much about their family history, but they have maybe kind of an instinct or intuition that a certain animal was associated with the family at some point. And it doesn't have to be a genetic thing either. It can be outside of the genetic area. A third archetype quality that I've noticed is people, these animal spirit people tend to have childhood memories, which I think this is something a lot of you guys, and myself included, might remember. You might have a childhood memory or memories of associating with animal spirits or communicating with animals. And I think a lot of you guys might find that that's a very common, or I should say popular thing. And then lastly, they might be very comfortable. Animal spirit people tend to be very comfortable with the idea of merging with animal spirits. Like if I asked you and you felt okay with me doing this, you know, if we were in the right setting, would you be okay with merging with an animal spirit that you felt comfortable with? You know, they'd be like, yeah, sure, you know. Let me just take a moment before I tell you about a story here. I feel like power animals give more instant results, so it makes it more attractive than cultivating a longer term relationship with animal spirits. Yes, that's true. Yeah, yeah. You know, and that's a good way of putting it, like kind of differentiating between power animals and longer term relationships with animal spirits. I think, especially people who are new to this, you know, getting into it, getting the power animal first is probably a good idea. And then you can kind of go on to the, you know, the animal spirits that are, you know, maybe accompanying that power animal, or maybe other power animals along the way. That's a really good point. So let me just tell you a little bit, just a couple tiny stories here. I had a spirit experience with my sister over at a burial mound not far from where we live here. And basically it was a kind of a wooded area. And sorry. Yeah, it was a wooded area. And basically we were walking around trying to find the mound, and we kind of lost our way a little bit. It wasn't like being horribly lost in a forest or anything. It was just, we just kind of got turned around a little bit. And basically what happened was we were heading back to this trail, but we were looking for the main trail so that we could go back to the parking lot. And that's the part that we couldn't find. And all of a sudden, a butterfly flew right in front of us and led us right down the path to the main trail, which then connected us back to the parking lot. And I remember this butterfly, I'm pretty sure it was a zebra butterfly, which is the yellow and black, which also is a very common butterfly in Florida, but special to this area. And that was a really special moment because I really felt the spirit of the place, and the spirit, the local land spirits kind of came together and said, we're going to get you back to this area. And so that was kind of where there was fear involved, but then a resolution with an animal spirit. And then another one I want to tell you about is something that was a little more intention, where it wasn't like something that scary that happened or fear-based. It was more like I intended on uh, achieving a certain goal with an actual journey. This was a shamanic journey, which I normally don't do these outside as much, but I did this one outside at a local area, which was right near the bay, near where we live. And I had just finished leaving offerings out at the Sarasota Bay and around the area, which has lots of beautiful trees and flowers and grasses and whatnot. And so I returned back to my car and decided I'd do a journey to the lower world. And what I did was I kind of sat in the car. I connected with the oak tree that was parked right in front of the car. And I went ahead and started rattling and journeyed down to the lower world. And what I saw there, oh, and before that happened, I do want to mention the jaguar, which was a power animal. I saw him in my mind's eye on the front of the car, so that really helped for the protections aspect. So I went down into the roots of the earth during the shamanic journey, and what I saw there was like a really large tortoise, and it was very old and very wise. And basically what it said was, he said one thing to me, and I wrote it down, and this is for everyone. This isn't just for me, this is for everybody. He said, I have seen the earth go through many changes over the years, and over the next 50 years, you will be part of a world changing for the better, I promise. So I hope that brings a lot of hope to everybody, because in these times, we need a lot of hope. So let's talk about plant people. And I'll try and see if anybody has any questions or anything. I'll try and keep looking. The plant spirit archetype characteristics, one might think, well, why do we need a relationship with plant spirits? Well, I think that plant spirits help us connect to our ancient wild selves and the kind of consciousness that maybe we used to have in our hunter-gatherer days. Before I get into that, I do want to kind of relay a little story our grandmother used to tell us about how when she was raising the kids and she got frustrated, she would go out into the backyard and dig a hole in the ground. And for some reason, when I was writing this to put together for the Summer of Magic, I just kept thinking of that story of her telling us when, we were children. And I thought, I wonder, if that's kind of like our modern human need to connect with the Earth's roots, from like a visceral, just getting your hand in the dirt and digging into the dirt, obviously, in a respectful way, but just really getting in there and just feeling the roots of the earth. So I find that one of the most comforting revelations about animism and shamanism in general is that there are certain groups of non-human spirits, like our animal spirits and plant spirits, that can act as ancestors. This is especially comforting to me, and I hope it'll be comforting to others as well. So that means it's possible, after a series of time, building up relationships, to seek advice from the plant spirits as you would an ancestor. And there's no risk of cultural appropriation because everybody across the globe does this, everybody. The key part is to be respectful and mindful, of course, of maintaining the relationship in an act of reciprocity, of course. And really, as much as the reciprocity is a big part of it, of the plant spirit or any relationship with any kind of animistic relationship, is just keeping it up as best as you can. It's just like any other kind of habit that is positive. You want to be regular with it and just be as consistent as possible. So before I talk a little bit more about plant spirits, I do want to do the kind of due diligence with plant spirits, because people tend to associate only plant spirits with our most famous one that everyone thinks about, which is ayahuasca. But while all plant spirits are to be respected, of course, there is a group of special, what they sometimes call maestro, meaning teacher, teaching plant spirits. And among those are ayahuasca, sacred tobacco, cannabis, wachuma or San Pedro cactus, whichever way you know that. San Pedro cactus is also a name for wachuma. Another possible one is the fly agaric mushrooms, or the mushrooms that we hear about as entheogens. And it's absolutely essential, just as a due diligence here, to find skilled medical and ritual practitioners in each of these areas, um, due to the physical ramifications, of course. However, I don't want to spend too much time on that because I just want to kind of get that out of the way. However, there is no harm in forging a plant spirit relationship with these powerful and healing teacher plant spirits. In fact, much shamanic guidance that I receive in my personal and professional life is from Maestro plant spirits, whether it's sacred tobacco or wachuma. Those are the two I can think of right off the bat that I tend to deal with the most. But off the non-maestro teaching plant spirits, here's a little story about Rosemary. And this is for the people who need to be convinced that plants have consciousness. So if you're still a skeptic and you're like, yeah, I don't think plants have consciousness, this story's for you. So one time I was needing to get some rosemary, like a little, you know how the rosemary bush has little needles. They kind of remind me of a pine tree, sort of, only thicker. And so I needed to just get a tiny bit of it. And I was in a hurry and I was rushing. And I just went out to the bush right quick and I just kind of yanked off a piece. And right as I did that, I literally heard, ow. And I kind of went, oh, what the heck? What went on there? And I kind of looked at the plant and immediately I just apologized to the plant. I said, I'm really sorry. I forgot to ask for permission. And, and ever since then, you know how like when you learn something the first time the hard way, you tend to remember the next time, oh yeah, maybe I'll ask for permission first because I don't want to have to go through that again. So every time I ask a plant, at least I try, sometimes I forget, but like, for example, we use basil quite a bit for offerings. So like I'll take out the container of basil and I'll look at the basil leaf, and you know how sometimes they come in stalks. The stalks are like the leaves come off like this, like 1, 2, 3, and there might be a couple branches going off like this. So what I'll do is I'll pick up the basil and I'll look at it and I'll say, which one of you, is okay with me breaking off? Because I don't want to separate you from your kin. And so I let them kind of, if they kind of tell me which one I can take off. And then that way I don't have to worry about hurting anybody. So that's just one possible way to do that. If you want to kind of that, and that's a really good way to just build a relationship. Let's say you don't want to get into tobacco quite yet. You're interested in it maybe down the road, or you don't want to get into doing the power plants right now. And you just want to start kind of a simple, and believe me, it's not simple, actually. I should say accessible. It's not simple, it's accessible. It's a lot easier to go ahead and pick up a basil and just start connecting with it that way. That's a great way to do that. And just keep that in your minds, in your habits. And that way, when you decide, if you decide at a later date, okay, I think I'm ready now to explore, maybe sacred tobacco, or maybe, wachuma or San Pedro or something like that, with the right person, of course. So, but let's talk about the plant spirit archetype characteristics. So are you a plant spirit archetype? And again, these characteristics, you only have to have one. I don't have all of them, so just one. So number one, you might have talked to your house plants, or you might talk to your flowers in the neighborhood, or trees. And when I say talk, I mean either verbally, like I'm talking right now, or maybe you're talking mentally. So that counts as talking. You might seek emotional or spiritual solace in nature, among the trees or the plants, weeds, grass, flowers, any of these things. Um, and then you might have also even felt the emotions of a tree or plant, etc. You might be drawn, a third one, you might be drawn to receive significant healing from herbs, whether it's, it could be through the actual herb, the raw herb, a tincture, if it's ground into a capsule, it could be aromatic oils, etc. We've had a couple talks about essential oils. That's certainly plant spirit people. And also you might identify, and this is more for the genealogical people, you might identify with a plant or a tree clan totem, especially if you've been investigating your family history, either consciously or subconsciously. Sometimes these things don't happen, like some people don't know anything about their history at all, and but they have a real instinct for some kind of connection with a tree or a plant or an herb of some sort. And that's a real phenomenon. So it becomes very important to write things down as much as you can. Um, Especially, like, one of the things you could do is when you're out in nature, just see if you are drawn to certain kinds of plants or trees or flowers, or you could do this with animals too. Um, and you could also do it with cultures, in terms of, like, if there are certain cultures outside of your culture that you're interested in, but you're not quite sure why, maybe find out some of the characteristics of that culture, and see if that kind of parallels with some of the things that you're noticing in nature. Um, you might find some similarities between these things. And of course, this is over time. But the process of establishing trust and connection with a plant spirit or any animistic or an animal spirit, of course, it takes time and offerings, listening, and of course, the recording part is helpful. And it's an ongoing process, of course. So let me just take some comments and see. Oh, I received a similar message from forest spirits, little people, like the one towards. Oh, that's wonderful. Yes, little people. I forgot to mention the little people. Very important. So fae and fairies, and some of you who are interested in fae and fairies, that's going to totally tie into this. So when I say things like nature spirits and stuff like that, that's kind of what I'm talking about too. That's wonderful. Really awesome concept and much needed in today's time. Thank you. Oh, good. That's great advice. Thanks. That's great. Um, oh, you do the same. Ask them which one is okay to take for the plants, right? And always say why I want it for, say thank you, and maybe give an offering. Some plants have become really friendly after getting to know them like this. That's awesome. And what I should have mentioned too is that, you know, if you can, if you're comfortable with it, ideally, if you're taking anything from nature, it's good to leave some tobacco first. That's helpful. Sometimes I use hair as offerings too. Um, but let's say you have some loose tobacco, organic tobacco. Ideally, that's probably what you should do. But there are plenty of times when I have to, like, use some other kind of offering instead. Um, but oh yes, I think it changes over time too. Sometimes I'm more plant energy, sometimes more animal spirit. I'm so glad you said that. But you know what? Um, before I'm going to have to come back to these comments later, because what I want to do is I want to, um, I think what I want to do now is, before we do the journey, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the quiz, the free gift, because I want to make sure we get time to do the journey. So, sorry to kind of change the order a little bit on you. But basically, I'm very passionate about what I do and how I help people. So I've created a free gift, which we'll have the link in the comments for you for all the participants here for the live event. And what it is a quiz. And it's basically going to help you discover your affinity for either animal or plant spirits or both. And it's going to be kind of you'll kind of get a feeling for what gradation you have in either area. You'll discover which kind of archetype you are within the plant, animal, spirit archetype family, and what kinds of gifts that entails, and where to go next. I also want to tell you about this class I'm going to offer. If you'd like to get to know how to build upon your plant spirit kinship, like we've been talking about with the basil story or the rosemary story or any other kind of plant spirits, I think it's important to offer a class like this because we're missing elders. A lot of us don't come from a culture that has elders. When I say elders, I mean human elders. And in this case, plant spirits provide healing support and feedback. And that's a real benefit to getting to know the plant spirits. It's important for people who don't have a shamanic tradition. It adds to people the plant spirit relationship and animal spirit, of course. It adds to people who already have a shamanic tradition. So the network of plant spirits also helps you feel kind of that community of the non-human spirit world. And we'll do shamanic journeys in the class that I'm going to offer about our personal plant spirit family. And I will talk briefly about various concepts in the plant spirit realm and personal experiences, but we'll also be doing some group activities. If you buy before June 30th, the price is $40. After July 1st, it'll go up to $50. So I will have all that contact stuff after the presentation. But before, I wanted to kind of get through that so that we had time for the journey. So before we do that, I wanted to light some juniper again, and I think that I will do that. Hi, Sylvie. Hopefully I have a few more minutes here. Okay, so before I get started with the journey, you'll want to kind of get in a place where you're calm and situated. If you're driving right now, I would highly suggest not participating in this journey right now. You don't want to be behind a moving vehicle driving while journeying. It's a very bad combination. So just wait and do it when you get home. But if you're not driving, feel free to participate. If you have a power animal or any helping spirits, I would go ahead. Here's a little juniper for everybody, myself included, all for you. If you have a power animal, go ahead and, or any kind of helping spirit, plant spirit, you can bring them forward. I think what I'm going to do before I actually tell you how we're going to do this, I'm just going to rattle a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into the lower world. So if you can think of maybe a tree, either that you've physically been to or some place, doesn't have to be a tree. I just use the image of a tree because you're going to go down into the roots of the tree. So that kind of helps to think of that. We're going to go down the roots of the tree, and then we're going to go down into the lower world. And if you already have a power animal, fine, that's great. But for those of you who don't have a power animal, what we're going to do is we're going to ask to meet our power animal. And I'm just going to keep rattling at a certain pace for a certain amount of time. And then when I start to fast rattle, double time, we'll come back up the tree roots and back into waking reality. Okay? Hi, Renee. Hi, Sylvie. Okay, so here we go. So hopefully All right, I'm just going to talk in the beginning process. I'm not sure if I'm going to talk all the way through it. I might not. So first, we're going to start at the tree. We're going to down the tree roots, down, down, down. Some people may visualize a ladder that goes deep down into the earth. Keep going down into the earth. It's very far down. And after this, I probably won't say much more until we get done. This is the part where you have helping spirits with you, that's good. But what I want you to do is just ask to meet your power animal. And I'm going to rattle steadily for a little bit. And when I get done rattling steadily, then when you hear the fast rattle, we'll come back up. And we're going to go up the roots of the tree. You should be hopefully up the roots of the tree, climbing up the roots of the tree or out in waking reality now. And at this point, you might want to thank your power animal, or thank any other helping spirits that you might have come into contact with. Anybody for protecting you and guiding you. And what you might want to do is take your hands. After this, you can slowly open your eyes, but maybe keep your eyes closed for now. And just take your hands, rub them together, get that good energy, and then place them on your body. Sometimes you can put them on your heart or your stomach. And it's always good to put them on your legs as well, like your knees or your hips, or any part that you need the extra energy. Sometimes I put it on the back of my neck too. Okay. So I'm glad we got to that journey because I really wanted to make sure we had time to do that. I know it's always a little weird after getting these journeys done, like, is everyone back in waking reality here? Um, but anyway, I hope everyone enjoyed that. I wanted to also tell you a little bit about, besides the course, I did want to tell you again about the Patreon. It's www.patreon.com/shamanic earth medicine. And you can sign up at 3 different levels. There's a $1 per month level, there's a $5 per month level, and there's a $15 per month level. And the $1 month, you get at least 1 or 2 videos from both. Usually you get at least 1 video, sometimes 2. And that's for $1 a month. And that's from me and Marissa. And then the $5 level, we usually do some kind of healing work, in a ceremonial work, I should say, over Zoom. That's what the $5 level gets you, plus the videos. And also and then the $15 level is you can ask for some kind of, you can ask for a divination question from either me or Marissa. We kind of take turns with it. Uh, and then we also would give you what the $5 and the $1 people as well get. So, and we have a really great community. We're really blessed that a lot of people at the Summer of Magic are also part of the Patreon, and Christina is a wonderful patron as well. And it's a lot of fun. You also you have access to all of the videos we've done over the last it's been at least 2 years. So even if you sign up for $1, you're gonna have access to all the videos for the last 2 years. So that's a real plus. Um, I found myself swimming in a dark abyss with some crocodiles. Wow, Christina, that's great. That's really cool because I don't know about where you live, but crocodiles are big where I live. um, I wonder, is your area, you'll have to let me know, is your area, does it have crocodiles? Because I'm not sure. I know you're in Kansas, and I'm not sure about if they hang out there or not. Maybe they do. Thank you. Highly recommended become a student at the Shamanic Earth School. Lots of great educational content. Thank you. So unless anybody has any questions, or if you want to leave any questions or comments later, I'll be sure to get back to you. Thank you, Christina, and thank you all of the presenters at the Summer of Magic. And I hope everyone has a wonderful week and a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing you in the future.